Welcome to the Lead Lifestyle podcast, where we believe every person can achieve their life goals as a result of their work and not in spite of it. So we talk to top performers and learn their daily routines, their behaviours and their beliefs so that you can improve your health, maximise your work performance, and above all, ensure you and your entire team are achieving a better life as a result of working for your company. So I'm Anthony and this is Paul, and we've recorded an additional 5 episodes interviewing top performers, but in this first episode we basically want to go through who we are, what we do and why we do it, so you can kind of get an introduction to us.
Yeah, I think it'd be best if we start off with finding out a bit about yourself and your background and how it's led to now what is the Leader Lifestyle.
Yeah, all the way back from the start.
As far back as
So basically, I'm from South Wales. I moved to Manchester in 2006 to play rugby league. I was trying to go professional, ended up not being good enough, but I became a strength and conditioning coach, got a sports science degree, and then I couldn't get a job because it was like the recession, 2009, 2010. So I ended up setting up my own gym, Raw Strength Gym, and I trained young rugby players and then adults and people who wanted to kind of get into strength training and train as if they were an athlete. And I've done that for the last 11 years now, but in that process I've discovered that it's not the training or the nutrition or the stuff that people struggle with, it's actually implementing that around their other responsibilities.
Yeah, 100%.
Being a parent, having a job, working late, setting up your own business. How do you manage to do all those things and still stay in shape? So I kind of originally thought I would put together a fitness program for guys like us who are entrepreneurs, run a business, or are in an executive position with a corporate company, but are struggling to kind of hit everything, in terms of their own fitness and responsibilities and stuff without going fucking crazy anyway. And then I was speaking to my mentor and he suggested, why don't you put this as a corporate training? Because at the moment, businesses are really struggling with well-being and wellness, and I did some kind of really interesting research which we can get into, but a lot of the methods that companies are using to kind of approach employee well-being and employee wellness at the moment are proven to not work, and our skills in kind of fitness and psychology and sports I believe solutions to those problems.
100%. Like, I've seen you as well over the last 12 months or something, really transform, and I think it would be good for people to know, first off, what was the catalyst for this, and what simple stuff have you implemented to transform yourself?
Simple stuff. I don't know how simple it is. I think it's probably, it is simple, but my journey's probably not been simple. So I think probably all started about 2017, 2018. I was having a really tough time with business. I was really stressed. Ended up getting in a load of debt because I wasn't able to afford business rent or make payroll and everything. But I made sure that those things were taken care of, and I put myself last.
Yes. Then
you don't have any money. You get kind of a bit depressed, and you think that everything's been in vain. All your efforts with business and stuff. So I ended up setting myself some big challenges in 2019 to do an ultra marathon, and I read about David Goggins and what he'd done in ultra endurance sports, and naively thought, how hard can it bloody be to do that? So I signed up for a South Wales ultra marathon, which is like 50 miles, with all my mates back home. And then one of my friends said, you've never even run a half marathon. Why don't you come and do this shorter fell race? I think it was March time, and the race was in July. So I went along with him and got fucking destroyed on this 3-peak kind of race, and I finished it in almost 5 hours, and everyone else finished it in 3, except for my friend who was pushing me up mountains and kind of keeping me going. And I realised, I didn't prepare for this. It was kind of embarrassing in a sense to have not performed very well, even though people probably look to me and think, he's a strength and conditioning coach, he should know what he's doing when it comes to endurance. And I pulled out of that ultra marathon, a few months later, and then I felt even worse about myself, and I thought, I'm going to actually stop being guess naive is the wrong term, but kind of headstrong and going into things and assuming I'm going to be good. Instead, I'm going to go, right, what am I crap at? And instead of avoiding those things, let's actually start approaching it. So I started looking at my training in 2019, started running, asking for help from other people instead of writing my programs all the time. I went on Stoic Conditioning, not sure if you've seen that. It's like military and kind of police and service personnel type training. So I got some of their coaching, their programs. That was really good. And then at the end of 2019, felt a lot better about where I was going with my personal life and not so much with my business. So then I was like, right, I need to have a different direction because I'm not actually enjoying training people anymore. And I think part of that is, you know, I've been a coach since I was 18, so it's like, you know, 15 years now. And there's a bit of burnout, I guess, that comes with coaching because you give yourself to other people for so long you don't have your own goals. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to turn the gym into something that I really enjoy doing. And then I was speaking to Sarah and Coach Tom, who works for me, and they're both really passionate in powerlifting and compete in powerlifting, and I'm not. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to kind of step back a little bit and say, if you guys want to turn this into a powerlifting mecca, let's do that, and I'll support you with my knowledge in marketing and sales and, you know, coaching and anatomy and everything you need to learn. I'll kind of start mentoring you. So then I started becoming a mentor to the people in my own business, which I've learned is actual proper leadership. And then with my own training, lockdown hit in March 2020, a year ago now. It feels crazy. And then I was doing Zoom workouts like 6 times a week, and I thought, you know, I'm going to set myself a challenge of actually doing the Zoom workout. So it was no lifting weights, no strength stuff. I was still running, and then I was training for tabbing a marathon. So it was originally supposed to be put 16 kilograms on your back, and you go up and down Jacob's Ladder in Edale. It's like half a mile up, half a mile back. You do it 20 times. You run 3 miles out to the base of the hill and you run 3 miles back, so that's the 6 miles. So it's 26 miles, so it's a marathon with weight. And I was training for that. And instead of kind of being knocked off course like I probably would have been in the past, because I had a vision for where I want to go with my own fitness, I was doing the daily workouts with the clients, I was mentoring, leading my team in the business. I ended up doing that virtually, so I just picked a hill and went and did it myself, even though it was cancelled. And then, like I said, I was talking to my mentor about how I could actually teach these principles to leaders. How can you turn it around when you feel like shit? How can you improve your daily habits?
Because that's something you've done massively, I think. Especially over the past 12 months. And it's not knowledge-based because you had the knowledge there already. I mean, it was about putting the principles into actions, which you've done dramatically over the past 12 months.
And I think it's context. It's, you know, we both have worked in the fitness industry for a long time, and you get tunnel visioned into all I can do is fitness programs. But actually, if you look at Formula One's a great example. They take corporate leadership principles and put it into sport. They also take sports science, put it into sport, and everything they can optimise in several different areas. You know, British cycling's kind of rise to victory. That's the same minimal gains approach. Businesses have these tools available, but they're not in the corporate world, they're in the fitness world. And fitness needs clients and people to work with right now, and they're actually in the corporate side of things. So having time off, I guess, I mean, you must have felt the same, having time off of coaching and being in the gym all the time has actually enabled me to go, you know what, this
there's more to than this.
More to it. Everyone's got mental health issues now because of the lockdown. Everyone's got, you know, probably, you know, I don't know about you, but I definitely drank more alcohol than I ever have, you know, habitually during the lockdown than before. And these aren't just issues that we're seeing with our clients in gyms. This is now the UK and the world as a whole. Everyone's struggling with these problems because we're all literally living the same daily routine, you know, for the most part, unless you're actually, you know, driving a lorry or, you know, or you're police or paramedic. You're living the same life.
Well, one thing that I like over the past 12 months that say that you've been through is that when a lot of people have struggled with routine because routines change, and routine's the makeup of our day, is that you adjusted it to win. So your routine then was about a winning mentality, whereas a lot of people struggled because they couldn't get to grips with this new routine. You actually gone, this is actually a better routine for me, and it's, like you said, it's progressed in all aspects of life as well at the same time.
I think I realised what I was compromising before.
Yeah.
You know, I was getting up at 5, going to the gym, coaching people till 8:30, 10 in the morning, and then you've got, you know, from 10 in the morning till about 3 or 4 in the afternoon before you're back in the gym coaching again. But in that time, people think you've got the entire day off. But no, you've got to do, you know, finances, marketing, business. I've got to write programs. I've got to do one-to-ones with staff, and you know, or you know, renovate equipment. You know, there's loads of stuff to do, and you end up not having a fucking life.
Yeah.
So it was an incredible time that, you know, I've realised that I've been kind of dragged myself into the ground for 11 years, well 10 years, 11 years now. So the last year has been a massive change for me. But when I got to July and I did that Tabbing marathon kind of virtually, I actually experienced like a massive drop in motivation, because you know, why do I need to go for a run now? I've done the event and I've got nothing booked coming up. And that's when I spoke to Dean and said, you know, I need to get some strongman training in, because not that I necessarily want to do strongman, but that if I don't have something to be pushed towards, to pull me towards kind of becoming a better person, I ain't going to do anything. I know I just eat brownies and drink whiskey and watch telly all the time. So I think it's been a really nice trip of awareness. The last 11 years of being a business owner, but especially the last 12 months, because the context has changed, the environment's changed, it's forced me to look at my career, look at my own personal goals, and look at how I can take my experience and ability out of the fitness industry and apply it globally. So yeah, it's been a massive change. What about you, man? Like what have you noticed? Start from the start. Yeah, like what made you get into coaching people?
So obviously I went to university studying psychology, and I was well into sports, loved sports, every sports team I was in, etc. I was just passionate about sports. And as I left university, I needed a job. There wasn't many out there. I wanted to be a sports psychologist to start with. And with sports psychology, you need the right experience to get a job. But how do you get that experience if you haven't got the job, etc., and things like that? And I was trying to look for like internships and stuff, couldn't find it, and I needed some money. So I got a job as a fitness instructor in a local gym, and I just fell in love with it. I just fell in love with the helping people, and what I came to realise is that I just like seeing people progress and be better about themselves, and I could use what I learned through psychology to help people get in the right frame of mind. Then I started to work family members and stuff, and then it became I seen a change in people, especially females, like older females, like females who struggled in the past, and I came to realise it wasn't about knowledge, which is what I was saying to you before. It's not about the knowledge, it's about implementing. And why couldn't people, if they really wanted to change?
What changes are you talking about?
Basically everything. So confidence, happiness, which all results a lot of stuff in body shape as well. So it was about helping them become better in all aspects of their life, and to do that you have to work with emotions, because how we feel, how we think is how we act. So if we feel and think crap, our behaviours are going to be crap. So it was about changing their feelings and their thought processes around just day-to-day life, making them feel better in that aspect. Then they know they can eat a salad or whatever meals and do a bit of exercise. That's the easy part. And I found out I really love doing this. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the right places and tools to do this, and I felt like females didn't have a place where they could go and train comfortably without using the weights and feeling self-conscious with themselves, and I thought, right, well, I need to go create something like this, which I did. I created the Figure Factory, and we've got an amazing gym and things like that now, and we've changed thousands and thousands of lives over the time.
How long have you had that gym then?
So the gym itself, so we started first off in a car park, and then we went to a field because it was nice, and then hustling, yeah, and then we moved into a hall, and then a sports gym, and then we got the first gym then. So it's been stages. We've been going for 9 years now. We've had gyms 6 years. But what I came to realise is exactly what you were saying. Then I was there I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, do morning routines that we could speak about in a bit if you want, which takes like 2 hours of people's lives, but do morning routine, get to the gym, coaching at 6, getting home for 9, 10 o'clock at night to do it again the next day, which was fine when I was single and young and be able to do it.
And everyone else does it, you know, every other coach does it, so you think that's the way.
That's what you have to do, don't you? And it's not. And then lockdown came. Like, I don't want to speak too much about COVID, but it came and it did drastically change my life because I've got a young daughter, I've got a young family, and I got to spend time with them, and I was like, shit, I'm missing out on a lot of stuff here. Like, I'm a slave to the day in, day out workings of the business. I was like, I need to do some changes here. So worked on my routine, worked on how I could best implement my time as effectively as possible in the business, but at the same time having a life, seeing my daughter grow up. Like, for me, that's one of the biggest things I was missing out on. So I did a lot of work on that, and now I have the perfect routine for my life. I spend a minimum of 3 hours every day with my daughter. Some days I wasn't spending 3 days, like I was going 3 days without seeing my daughter.
Crazy.
Massively, but that's what you just get stuck in that way. Business has never been better because I've given the right people the right jobs. I'm more productive in what time I do because I've got my routine in that day.
You stop giving yourself the wrong jobs.
Yes, that's the main thing. And from this, like, as you were saying earlier, we became a slave to what we were doing day in, day out, and it's all about working and progressing in instead of the whole aspect, and instead of being good at this and good at this at the same time. So having that freedom of a lifestyle and being there with your family and being around loved ones and doing stuff that you enjoy, as well as performing well in work. It doesn't have to be one or the other, and that's something that I'm really passionate about, and I know you're really passionate about, and that's where the leader lifestyle, I think, sort of came from.
Yeah, we're here to fucking smash through the toxic, overworking, overbearing CEO stereotype.
Yeah,
that's just Hollywood throwback now, I think.
Yeah.
It's what people think executives have to be. But if you look at, really, really good leaders, they're in shape.
Yeah.
They've got coaches. Let's look at Gary Vee, for example. He's got a PT that flies around with him around the world. Whatever he's doing, he takes care of himself, his fitness and his health first, because if one's energy drops, how can you give energy to other people?
Yeah.
And it has such a massive knock-on effect that if, we both have jobs with bosses. If you have a shit boss, it makes you feel like shit. But why are they making you feel like shit? Well, probably they're not happy in the first place. They're not taking time to think about their actions. They're probably not engaging in personal development and coaching for their own skills and abilities and what they need. And like you said, they're probably doing the wrong tasks and the wrong jobs, and that ends up, making you feel frustrated. If you're not good at finances, but you're always having to do the books, you're going to feel frustrated, but perhaps not realise what the trigger for that is. So how have you implemented, for your clients, becoming aware of where their habits need to change and the triggers for bad behaviours? Like, what the kind of main things that you look at first?
First off, you want to be working on, you need to give people confidence. You want to be working on the positives that they're doing right. As soon as you start telling people you can't do this, you're doing this wrong, you can't do this, it's head down, shoulders down, they don't feel good about it, and you resist change with that, that's the first thing you do. If someone says you can't do something, like if I said to you, now, you're not allowed to drink for the next month, now I know you're not, because you're getting into training, because you've got your comp and stuff like that, so you're not drinking at the moment. You would be straight from here to Bargain Booze to buy a bottle of whiskey and enjoy it, because you've been told that you're not allowed to do it. Yeah, that's what we do. And so first off, it's not about eradicating stuff from your life. It's about working on the stuff that you're doing well already. So can we do more of that? And then sort of bringing this down and bringing this up at the same time.
So let's talk about lockdown, even though, you know, it's hopefully going to be a time capsule of this isn't going to happen ever again. But it's a really interesting scenario where there's remote working, so there's remote leadership.
Yeah. How
can a leader dealing with that improve their own habits now in the current environment of probably working at home?
It was a difficult one. I mean, for us personally, like, I've first led our members through this, and I've grown my team through this as well. So we've got a bigger team that's coming through lockdown, which has had its own issues, because it's different training somebody up in person than it is online and things like that. So it has been difficult, but the fundamentals are still the same. Like, we still need to, like, we still need to inspire them and move them forward, really. So what are your thoughts on it, really?
I think that leaders have to be healthier, and it's like a prerequisite for the job. I think that in, you know, the future of work is going to be down to retaining good talent and trying to minimise, you know, job attrition, because you get the additional costs of having to rehire and retrain, and the time cost of doing that as well. So if you've got let's say you've got 50 managers in a big company and 20 of them are overweight, the research shows that employees will rate them less effectively. So they won't go the extra mile. You know, when you've got to work late on a Friday and get the project finished, you're more likely to do that if you view your manager as healthy, which is crazy. And yet wellness programs that are aimed at improving health of individuals and leaders are not as effective as ones that work on social relationships and community. So I think what it comes down to is your relationships with other people as humans. Like if you're leading your clients or your staff, or we go into a company and we do some consultant work with their leadership team and we go, right, what's the first thing we can do now? I think it's be kinder to each other. And actually we did a podcast with Dr. Amitava Ganguly, which is episode 5, and he talked about when he was kinder to himself, and he thought, you know what, I am going to struggle because it's hard, and that's okay. And my staff are going to struggle because perhaps they're working at home, or they've got young children, or they're overweight, or they're not feeling good about themselves. And that's okay. And then have patience and trust that they can improve, and just give them the tools and the resources. So, you know, a little story about this. When I was first starting managing people, I tell them exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it by, which is what I thought management was. But someone once said to me, you need to let your staff fail. Give them a task. Don't set them a deadline and let them fail. And I think it's the same with employee wellness. It's not something that you can say, right, everyone's going to be fitter by May. You know, by the end of May, everyone's going to lose a stone and be really happy because they're healthier, and as a result, reduce absences through sickness and all the other bollocks things that you hear. You know, it's proven to not work.
It's that thing I was telling you about before, about being forced to do something.
Yeah.
If you're being told that you need to wear your smartwatch every day and track your steps, and you need to do 10,000 steps, and you need to do this, you don't want it. You're like, it's not your decision, so you're being forced into it, and I think that's why they don't work.
Yeah. And if you enjoy going to work, it's normally because your mates are at work, and you get on with your boss, and you've got freedom and time and space to do your best work and be creative. If there's any constraints, like I once worked at a bank and the boss said to me once, if you don't sell any credit cards, you know, the next thing you're going to see is your fucking PVOI, whatever it's called. I'm going to fire you unless you have 20 conversations in the next hour with customers. And I felt so under pressure that, just my personality, I thought, fuck it, fire me, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. But I had something similar. Where
you can't perform under pressure like that. You have to be given space.
I had so basically I was working at the gym at the time, and I just helped a lady come off antidepressants, which was massive, like it's a massive feeling. And I walked from that consultation room and I had a phone call from the financial controller who was telling me that our membership numbers this month, we hadn't hit a certain target yet. And I was trying to explain, you're not seeing what we're doing here though, we're actually changing people's perception of life, etc. And he said, no, you will get this target, this is that target, we don't care about them people, we care about this. And I actually left. So instead of aiming for that target that I was told that I had to get, I understand KPIs, I understand targets, these are all important, but when it's forced down your throat with no reasoning behind it, when you're being told that the reason that you do your day-to-day job's not what you do it for, you're doing it for these numbers.
For money.
Basically, yeah, there's no passion there, there's no vision, there's no real reason for doing it. Like, you're not going to do it. And for me personally, I walked away from the job. I left because of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's massively important.
Well, I was reading some research that was several studies actually with the same conclusion proven that, and it's obvious when you think about it, but employees leave jobs due to bad managers. You would probably stay at a job with less pay if you had a really great boss who inspired you and developed you, and you knew in 2-3 years you'd be better at what you do because of that person. So healthy leaders are the business benefit that nobody's talking about. You know, you hear that all the time when you start researching it, because when you're healthy, your mood lifts, you are happier. And we've only ever looked at that in a one-dimensional aspect of how does it help the individual client. But now we're looking at developing leaders, because that actually, their mood and their happiness and their health impacts everyone around them, because they're going to bounce into the office with a smile on their face. They're going to, you know, bring in healthier foods. They're not going to be Krispy Kreme donuts on the desk all the time on a Friday, or you know, organising socials that are all alcohol based. You know,
we've seen, both of us, that a massive issue in offices and people where they work at, where it's a negative health culture, and anybody that tries to become fit, it's seen as a bad thing. It seems like
you're in opposition with your workplace, aren't you? And you want to get in shape.
So there'll be cakes everywhere in offices, there'll be pizzas being delivered in the day and stuff like that, because they're treating, but it's not a treat really long term if you think about it. And then the people in the office and stuff, anyone, like I say, who's trying to get healthy and trying to get fit, then seems like an outsider. So then, because there's not that culture from the top down, it's difficult for somebody to come in and change. I mean, I've done wellbeing practices in workplaces. I had a business that did it years ago, and we just went from the bottom upwards, and it just didn't work, because the leaders, the people at the top, were not inspiring it, and we're still doing these cake days.
What would happen if, let's say we went to a company, let's say Rolls-Royce is down the road, right? Let's say we go to Rolls-Royce and we do employee well-being, and we don't talk to the leaders about it.
Doesn't work.
Where are they going to be a year later? Let's say it could work and they get a bit healthier. Yeah. Where are they going to be a year later?
There's no change of culture, and that's what the big thing is. And culture starts from the top and comes down. It's like a waterfall effect. And to have a high performing workforce, it needs to come from the top down in all aspects. They need to not be forced into sort of like I say, this negative health culture that's massively in offices these days. It's like, sort of Jeff Bezos speaks about it well, like he prioritises his sleep. That's the first thing he prioritises his day, is that he gets his 8 hours sleep. But as business owners, we're told to sleep less, work more, get up earlier, get up 4 a.m,
Grind it
hustle.
out.
Yeah, if you're not working, like you're gonna fail and things like that. He was the most successful man on the planet, maybe who's ever been on the planet. Prioritises his sleep. That's the first thing he prioritises in the day is 8 hours, because he knows he can make better decisions in the day if he's prioritised his health and his sleep first.
I think when it comes to modelling other people as well, I did a really interesting interview with a man called Neil Taylor. So that's episode 3, and he was so anti self-help. You know, don't read self-help books, don't go to self-help courses, you know, don't do the mastermind and listen to the podcasts and stuff, because you already know what to do. Like, you already intrinsically know the correct actions to take. And if, you know, £1 million is on the table and we said, right, you need to go and get your entire company healthier and you need to lose 2 stone, and you get £1 million, if you do it in the next 6 months and you sustain it for a year, you do it. But if you kind of look at self-help stuff and self-development stuff and thinking about it all the time, it's just another form of procrastination.
I always say this, so especially with new members who come in, is that like we know everything we need to do, we don't do it. Like, for example, if I said to you now, I want you to get in the car, I want you to drive down to Dover, and I want you to go in the channel and sit in the English Channel for 30 minutes, get back into your car, drive back up here, and that's it. You'd be like, no, why would I do that? That's daft. If I said I want you to do the exact same thing, get in the channel, and when you got out the channel, there's £10 million in your bank account, would you do it? You'd be running out that door, getting into the car, going to the petrol station and flying down there. If you didn't have a car, you'd find one.
And you wouldn't need a map of how to get to Dover, you'd find your way there.
Yourself there.
Yeah.
It's the same. The process is the exact same. The outcomes are just different. And that's the big thing, is about, we know what we need to do. Like, we know the stuff that we need to implement. It's about having that strong why and the strong reason for doing it. And I think a lot of companies struggle with that aspect. Is right, you need to, there's being healthier, and that just means losing weight to a lot of people. But no, is your sleep maximum, is your recovery maximum? Because if it is, you'll make better decisions in the day. You'll work more efficiently. Your cognitive functioning will be a lot stronger. Like, are you moving at your exercise?